I ended up shaving my beard a little bit. Like, I trimmed it a little bit because it was driving me crazy how in every video I made, it was always veering off to one side. And no matter how much I tried, I couldn't get the beard to go straight. I would get out of the shower. I would even like braid it a little bit down the center to try to get both sides to cohere, and they just wouldn't do it. And by the end of a review, by the end of that half hour or so, you would see my beard go from straight to separated, and one of the sides was too long. And I said I can't get them to stay together in the middle, so I'll just try to cut off one little bit on one side so at least it looks straight. If it can't look like it's one part and together in the middle, at least it can look straight. And I was always afraid of having one of those situations where I start trimming here and then here and then here and then I can't stop and then the beard's gone. But I think I did a one and done, and I just said, no, that's it. And I just stopped, and I think I got it a little bit straighter than before, but we'll see what happens next time the review comes along for whatever the next episode of Strange New Worlds is. Oh yeah, Strange New Worlds. Speaking of Strange New Worlds and Star Trek, I almost forgot about Star Trek. I keep noticing, like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see these videos as I scroll around YouTube, but I use YouTube. I upload videos to YouTube. I can't avoid it. You scroll by these things, and these losers will make spoiler thumbs. I try really hard not to do that, to make spoilery thumbnails. And they also have thumbnails that are just meant to annoy you, or meant to, they're very presumptuous, right? They'll take, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And what I'm talking about is how John Delancey, the person who plays Q in TNG, he's great, a legend. He voiced the Qlane character from Wedding Bell Blues. He voiced like his father, essentially. You know how the Squire of Gothos ends in TOS, where Qlane's parents come back and say, you better not be doing this, and oh, okay, I won't do it again. You know, Star Trek has a long history of extremely powerful alien beings with seemingly magic powers that turn out to just be like children, right? And they're just playing with us. It's an interesting concept, and it shows up a lot in Star Trek. It's a common theme, a little motif for you. And this time, I thought in my review, I pointed out, I just thought it was just a little wink and a nudge. Wink and a nod, I should say. Wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. I thought the fact that John Delancey plays, we'll just call him Qlane from Wedding Bell Blues, plays his father in voice only, was just a nod to another fan favorite, omnipotent, ghost-like character. You know, a wizard, if you will, that being Q. And a lot of people with their thumbnails and their clickbait, they ran with it and they tried to kind of make up this idea that, oh, what, Qlane's a Q now? And I said no. I said that's not the case. It's just a fun thing. I didn't think that much of it. But I'm learning now, as time goes on, with New Trek being what it is, I'm learning to like not discount insane theories, right? Because if truly we are not worrying about canon, and when I review Strange New Worlds, I'm not worrying about canon anymore. I don't think it matters for Strange New Worlds anymore, whatever. If we're truly taking that to heart, shouldn't we assume that it could be possible that that Q is coming back, or Q as a fact is factored into Strange New Worlds this season somehow? Maybe it's not just that. Maybe it's not just the voice actor. Maybe it's just not the voice actor coming back to play another similar role. Remember in Wedding Bell Blues at the very end, they said that people were meddling in the homeworld, in their homeworld, right? And I mean, we're all but saying that character from Wedding Bell Blues was Qlane's species, or what have you. So let's assume that. And then he says they're meddling in the homeworld. Okay, so now we know that an omnipotent, amorphous wizard race like Qlane or Q or what have you, they can have a homeworld. They can have an origin. Obviously, everything has an origin. Everything starts somewhere. We brought that up, and then we get to this episode. What is it? Through the Lens of Time, and we're bringing up this idea of quantum immortality. and how the ancient ancestors of, what are they, the Macroon, thought that they had a way to transcend the physical barrier, the physical limitations of life, and become immortal in a sense, by being in a quantum state at the atomic, at the subatomic level, that would allow them to exist beyond their own mortal coil. Right? That sounds like what probably happened when whatever the Q species was transitioned into being what we know as them now. So we're bringing up this idea of how we turn physical beings into non-physical beings. Okay? And then we combine that with the fact that we've already seen John Delancey play that type of character who wasn't Q. And then at the end of Through the Lens of Time, we bring up this idea of the Vesda. Like there could be a race that is actually not physical, in addition to Qlane and Q. And these ones are evil, right? And we also saw, right, Batel with her Gorn DNA hybridization getting very mad at one of them. So these crazy ideas that I thought were just clickbait nonsense that you make up in order to get people to click it. It's like, oh, they give me an inch, I'm taking a mile. Oh, what? They brought back John Delancey. Is Q back? That's how you would title the video, right? Because it works. Because humans are, once you can predict how they operate, you can exploit them, right? I am a human. I'm not an alien. I'm not abusing humans. Don't look at me. So Q back. Okay. Another clickbait thing I was seeing was pointing at the Gorn from what's the episode? Is it called Arena? The one where Kirk fought that Gorn, and the way that Gorn looked, they try to kind of bring up this thought that was Batel transformed into a human Gorn hybrid, and that's why that the new Gorn that's coming up, that's a hybridization between Batel or a human and a Gorn, looks that way and not the way it did earlier in Strange New Worlds, is because of Batel and what happened with the DNA. It's another augment DNA situation. Remember the augments in the last season of Star Trek Enterprise? How they actually did a good job explaining how the Klingons ended up looking different. Thank you, Star Trek Enterprise. But are we doing another augment thing? But this time, we're doing an augment type storyline where we say how the Gorn hybridized with humans, say, and now they look like this in TOS. The problem is that we're not solving an old problem like we did with Enterprise solving the age-old problem of the new Klingons showing up for the first time in the motion picture. What we're doing is we're solving a problem we just created. The age-old story of New Trek. We want something different, but people won't care unless it's named the right thing. Okay, so we'll name it the old thing, and then when people hate it, we'll go back and try to fix it. That's the story of New Trek. That's Alex Kurtzman's modus operandi. We want Y, but the audience wants X. So we'll give them Y, and we'll slowly turn it into X to keep them subscribed. We're going to bait them into it. So we're going to have the new Klingons. Again, we're going to change the Klingons. And then don't worry, we're going to slowly change them back. So why change them in the first place? Oh yeah, you were scared to do something new. You didn't think it was going to work, right? Star Trek fans won't accept something new, right? Anyway, what this has to do with Q is that, are we explaining the origins of Q? Is this a backdoor into bringing Q back into Strange New Worlds? And are these thumbnails that seem like clickbait actually reality? I'm long since past the point of thinking this had to make sense. So maybe these clickbaiters are onto something. It's kind of a scary thought, but maybe Batel is the new form of the Gorn, the new Gorn form, with the DNA hybridization and whatnot. Maybe Q and the Qlane, are related, as well as with the Vesda. And we're explaining the origins of Q somehow. And worse than that, we're bringing up this idea of alternate realities. Strange New Worlds episode Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, confusing when the date of World War III was. What reality are we in? We're inside that Macroon ancient building. They call it like a prison, a multi-dimensional prison for these non-corporeal beings. How close are we to looking into one of those little Vesda grenades and seeing a glimpse of a TOS Gorn. Will that happen? What if we look into one of those and we see like a TOS Klingon, and they say, oh no, these little orbs, they contain alternate realities. Oh wow. And one of them happened to have a Vesda in it that got inside Gamble, and you know what happened. I bet that's coming. So what I'm saying is, don't ignore the clickbait, I guess. As crazy as it sounds, as crazy as the clickbait thumbnails sound or look, I think New Trek is twice as crazy as that is. So don't ignore it. Take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a spoonful of sugar. Helps the medicine go down. In this case, the bitter, nasty medicine is the Q, the Gorn, showing up again because we can't do anything new. Is Batel the future of the Gorn? Are we going to find out where the Q came from? And is this all a backdoor into alternate timelines? We can't let it go. We couldn't let it go when we ended Lower Decks. What if instead of exploring space, we're exploring the multiverse? But you were already exploring space. What's different? Go out there. Go further out. There's more things to find out there. As time goes on, I'm more and more annoyed about that, the last episode of Lower Decks, or the last few in that series, and not to go too far afield here, but Boimler was amazed and starstruck in a way, filled with awe, talking to who? Captain Lily from that other starship that explored the multiverse, when she explained that she saw humans in another timeline building gigantic space stations and such. How's that different from seeing aliens do it? We already found a Dyson sphere. We don't know what's out there. Keep going. That's the thing about space. It's in the name. There's a lot of it. There's so much to find. We don't need to see different humans. You just don't need it. If anything, we needed more aliens. So, to wrap up, don't ignore that clickbait. Ignore the clickbait at your peril. Do you ever think you'd hear that? Anyway, I'm Lieutenant Mark, and those are my thoughts for today on this away mission. And I'm going to see you in a few days when we review the next episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Whatever it's called, we're going to find out. So long.